What's up, guys? Back, joined again by a good friend, Gabriel. Greg, say what's up to the people.
Hey, quiet, quiet Friday. No game this Sunday, so we can sleep a little bit on Sunday. Not like last week where I ended up getting up real early because there was a 7:30 game where you live, right? It's 8:30.
It was so early, man. It was.
But I'll tell you what, I like that. Then
Like it?
I didn't have to watch football anymore. Then after 3 hours, if I didn't want to.
Oh, you didn't do it? I watched football all day, so.
No, I ended up doing honeydew stuff.
Oh, honeydew day on the Sunday. What's going on, chat? Good to see you guys. But we're here ready to talk Bears. During a bye week. We're 4-2. Things are looking up. We'll briefly get into what we started chatting before the show, and we started talking about Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, and we were going to save it for next week, but we'll go ahead and at least I'll show off the graphic that I had up on the screen here. This is something I made. I think I saw this on Twitter. Nope, that's not even it. This is the one. These are the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL at progressing past their first read, and then the percentage of their throws that go to the first read. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, and Caleb Williams. Those are 5 that throw to their first read the least. Jaden Daniels is on the list of top 5 QBs who throw the most, included with guys like Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Andy Dalton, and Will Levis. So we were talking about that a little bit. Next week, we'll probably dive in a lot deeper to the Commanders preview because we're going to go back-to-back weeks. But I know Greg had a thought on that.
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to take anything away from Jaden Daniels. He's had a great season, and I really liked him coming out of LSU. But from what I've been told from people in the know that have studied his games a lot, and is that basically they're not even running Kingsbury's offense. They're running LSU's offense with some touch of Cliff Kingsbury's offense in it to make things really easy for him. And for the most part, it's a half field read. So, it said the throw is supposed to go to the right side. He's never looking to the left side, or very seldom looking to the left side. He's just keeping his eyes on that one side of the field. Could be the left side, could be the right side. Now, again, I haven't done enough looking or watching of his games to know that for certain. That's just what I've been told. But when you see the way Caleb has progressed over the last 6 weeks, just from week 1 to week 6, it's like freaking remarkable, because now, they put a lot of hurry up into the offense. He comes to the line of scrimmage, and he's got the ability to change the play. He is changing the plays. And then when you watch his eyes and you watch his head, especially when you're looking at the end zone copy of the tape, he's going 1 to 2 to 3, back to 1, or maybe 1 to 2 to 3 to 2. I mean, he's all over the place. And so for a guy just 6 weeks into the league, that's incredible. You very rarely see that. And that's a testament to him as far as, what's upstairs, as far as just innate intelligence, but also his instincts for the game, so he's really superior, and it's just going to keep getting better.
And he's throwing those tight window throws. A couple of those throws he made last week to Keenan Allen, including the fade in the end zone, and then the other touchdown he threw to Keenan over the middle. And then he also had a slant over the middle where it was a 3rd down, and Keenan was pretty much blanketed. But he threw it. He trusted Keenan. Keenan got the 1st down. It was like a 7-yard catch or something. But those are throws that I don't even think any quarterback we've ever had in my lifetime would even throw that, because the guy wasn't open. And you have to.
Jay may have.
Jay maybe to Brandon
Jay
Marshall.
Always thought I can make the throw with my arm.
Not that throw, though. See, it's different. What he would have done is just thrown it up for Brandon Marshall and hope Brandon Marshall went up and got it. But I never seen him throwing those tight slants in those tight windows like that. That's something I haven't seen. And on top of that, the progressions you were talking about, when I think about Justin Fields, like, it was year 3, and I was seeing a little bit of that, But this was week 6, and we're seeing it all over the tape. Anytime you pull up the tape of the Bears, almost every play, Caleb, he's
Sure.
right, he's looking left, he's coming back across the middle. He's making his progressions, and it's so fun to watch.
Yeah. And like I said, it's only going to get better. As he gets more confidence and gains more experience, he's seen a lot in 6 weeks. So there's not that much more they can throw at him because they were, the first few games, actually into the third game, they were crowding the box. They had 8 people in the box a lot. They're keeping their safeties uptight. So it was, they were trying to take away the run and make him throw. And, he was having some trouble seeing things, reading things, getting the ball out of his hand quickly. But as soon as he started to catch on, you notice the defense is backing off a little bit. And now it's like he's a whole different player. And to me, it's just fun to watch. Just the whole progression of how he has grown and matured as a player in such a short time.
It is. I've said it like so many times, I feel like already, but we're getting to actually watch a quarterback develop in front of our eyes. And that's something I've wanted to do my whole life. You always hope for it, but then you see regression and the guys aren't taking the right steps. And everything's been so positive so far. It's such a great time to be a Bears fan. I wish we had a game this week. I hate that we have to wait 2 weeks for this Commanders
Yeah,
game.
I know. There's a few. In fact, that there was a player that said it too, but I've heard some other people saying they just say they got some momentum going. This could cut the momentum a little bit.
Oh yeah, I would hate to see that.
But I think it came when you look at the injuries they've had and stuff. It came probably at the right time, and so who knows? I don't know if Gordon's going to be able to play. He had a hammy. Hammies could take 3 to 4 weeks, depending how severe it was. If he was just cramping a little bit, he might be good to go. But if he had an outright pull, it might be a few more weeks that he's out.
Yeah, it was a tough one. That was the play. It looked like he got bent over backwards on that play, and that's the play. I believe he hurt his hamstring. That's the one where he got up tough. But yeah, perfect timing for the bye week when it comes to injuries. We had 3 guys in our secondary out most of that game because Brisker and Tyreek Stevenson were out. And then our top backup, Terrell Smith, also out right now. So we could really use those guys getting healthy. And then we have some other guys that are getting ready to come back off the IR. But before I get to that, someone commented about Jay Cutler's mugshot. Did you see that this morning? Jay Cutler.
I didn't see the mugshot. I just know that he got busted for DUI and he had a gun in the car with him. It might not have been a registered gun, but
I didn't know that. I saw the mugshot though, and he looked rough. He looked rough. It was, someone said it's going to be the new profile picture for all the Bears Twitter trolls.
Hey,
Jay Cutler mugshot. But we do have a lot of guys coming back off the IR as well. Jacob Martin already practiced in full all of last week. I expect with this whole bye week now, I expect Jacob Martin to be ready to go next week. And then there's a chance that a guy like Ryan Bates could be getting healthy as well, but haven't heard an update on that. The last we heard from the coaches, they basically said Jacob Martin's coming back to practice. Larry Borum is kind of ramping up and trying to get into playing shape.
I don't know if they want to bring Borum back unless they have to.
Mm-hmm. But when he said something about Bates, he said Bates is still getting healthy. So to me, it seemed like Bates was still a ways off. Did you hear that?
You got to read between the lines. I took it a little bit different, but we'll know if he practices at all this week, or if they put in the 3-week window. As far as with Jacob Martin, they have to make a decision on Martin by this coming weekend. Mm-hmm. So for the Washington game, he's either on the roster or he's back on IR for the rest of the year. My guess is he's going to be on the roster and Dominique Robinson's going to be let loose. And then if he clears waivers, get signed back to the practice squad.
Yeah. There's a couple other players I thought potentially could get cut, but yeah, especially if we have a couple guys come back. I feel like Dominique Robinson, he's been a healthy scratch most of the year.
I don't think he's played a game.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think, with the depth we have right now at edge on the defensive line, especially if we're could potentially be looking to add another player at the trade deadline or anything. Dom Rob's time here is pretty much done. Yeah, I agree with that.
The people are commenting, well, could Khalil Herbert get traded? And I thought, and I think we've talked about this in the past, if Wheeler had not gotten hurt, I think Khalil Herbert already would have been gone.
Mm-hmm.
But being the fact that he did get hurt, they got the two main guys, Swift and Roschon. And so after that, if one of those guys goes down, you don't have anybody you can really trust except Herbert. And so that's for that reason, I think they keep Herbert for the whole year. I don't see them trying to move. It's just too dangerous from a depth standpoint.
Yeah, I agree with that. I pretty much said that all off season. Herbert is just such a good player that can be the RB1 or 2 so easily in a pinch if someone goes down. And running backs get hurt more than any other position in the NFL. Yep. These guys take a beating. And as much as I love Swift and I love Roschon, this guy said in the chat, we're one bad hammy away from needing Khalil Herbert. So we don't really.
Yeah, there's no question. And Travis Homer's on IR too, but I think there still is a limit to how many guys you can bring off of IR.
I think so. I think it's like 4. Maybe?
No, more. I think it's more than that. It might be a half dozen or something.
Okay.
But they changed the rules again because this year you could put guys on IR before the 53, right at the cut down, and they did it with Borum, and who was the other guy they did it with?
I remember, but I'm not remembering.
I got to look I got the roster over here.
Okay. Someone also asked, is Ian Wheeler expected to come back this season? He is not. He
had an ACL. So,
yeah. But he is on the roster on the injured reserve all season, so he will get to stay with the team, rehab with them. And Ryan
he goes to meetings, goes to practice, does everything. And Jacob Martin was the other one who was put on. And he's coming back. So, I mean, that's two. Ryan Bates, he's going to be coming back. And then it's after that. I mean, you got to pick and choose with some of these guys, depending, you got to save spots, I guess, is the best way to put it, just in case other guys get hurt and then you got to put them down for 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. So, I don't think like Borum's going to come back right away. Carlson, Simba Webster's been on. I don't think he can come back.
Yeah.
Then who else would be there?
I think most of the other guys. I mean, the other
Scales. Patrick Scales can come back, but will they do that? I mean, he had back surgery. Who knows how the hell that's could be back fairly quickly, but he's 36 years old, so it might not be as quick as other people who had what he had, the type of surgery he had. So I mean, that's and if the snapper they got's doing a good job, they're going to go with that.
And that's Scott Daly's hurt now too. We brought another guy in who apparently was a former Pro Bowl snapper,
he's a 2-time Pro Bowler, but he was he's brought back. He's on the practice squad.
Yeah,
so he'll probably
he'll get called up for at least a game or two, I'd imagine. While Scott
if Daly can't go next week, this guy will get called up. He can get called up for 2 games.
Yep. And I think there's a possibility one of those guys, Daly or Patrick Scales, one of those guys will be healthy by then. But if not, we have this guy on the practice squad. And Cole Kmet's already proven he can do it. He got that special teams player of the week. Good congrats for Cole Kmet on that one as well. Love to see it.
Yeah, I tell you, that could be a scary situation if you don't have a backup. Mm-hmm. And it really, the only bad snap he had, and it was a little bit high and too far inside, was the missed field goal. So it threw off the timing a little bit on that 56-yarder. Other than that, he did a hell of a job. And he didn't have to do it for the punts. So I don't think he had one punt snapped. I think Daly did all the punt snapping, didn't he, before he got hurt?
I don't think we punted it after that. Yeah, I don't think we did. Yeah, that's a good point.
So
not used to seeing
that's just a harder that's 14 yards. That's a lot harder than a 7-yard snap to the field goal holder.
It is. It is. But with all those guys coming back, is there any other players that you could see getting cut? Because we have multiple guys that could be coming back. Is there anyone else at the bottom of the roster you think could be potential cuts?
What the hell's his name?
Kramer.
Kramer.
Oh, Doug Kramer. Oh, don't say Kramer. Please keep Kramer.
Why?
I love him. I love him in the backfield, man, as a fullback.
Yeah, but
I love that.
The only reason they did that is because Blasingame was hurt.
I know, but he's the mini fridge now, man. I love it. I think you got to keep doing it.
But you can put him on the practice squad and then bring him up off the practice squad.
Only twice, though. Only twice.
Yeah, but
Kramer, not Kramer.
Well, they could bite the bullet on Nate Davis.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Okay, but
he's a healthy scratch now, and I mean, at this point,
right,
you're paying him anyway, so you just go ahead and save that money for next year.
Well, you're not really saving the money for next year. He's got guaranteed money he's getting. So
no, next year you'd save the money. Next year he doesn't have any guaranteed money.
Right. So I mean, yeah,
you're still paying him this year.
You could let him go. It's not really going to kill your cap because it's just what he was getting salary wise anyway. I don't think there's anything extra, but they only got like $77.5 million left in cap space. But you can fix that easy. You can just redo a contract or two and create money if you want to do it. So, and the players know that that's a given. That and it doesn't really change what they get. Let's say this is just hypothetical. You could go to Sweat and say, okay, let's say Sweat's getting $14 million this year in salary, and I'm just making these numbers up. So nobody, you could say, okay, you've got paid X amount so far. I'm giving you the rest of the money for this season in a bonus right now, and then that frees that up as it gets thrown into bonus money and lowers your cap. So you can do that with any of the players that are, long-term contract guys. You could do it with Edmonds, guys who are making some big money. Jalen Johnson.
Anybody with the big contracts. And we don't have too many people with the big contracts, but we do have a couple. And I can see that happen. I see that we do have a couple guys at the bottom of the roster. We have a couple extra D tackles. If Zach Pickens were to get healthy, we have Byron Cowart and Chris Williams down there as well. Chris Williams got his first sack this week. Earlier in the year, I didn't think he was playing very well, but he has picked up a little bit recently. And Byron Cowart's always been good for depth. We have Daniel Hardy, another extra guy. Right now, most of the extra guys, though, are on the D line, is what I would see.
Well, the D line's heavy, but and if they, could they go in that direction? Yeah, but the head coach is a defensive guy. And it's like, who can we sneak through waivers and put on the practice squad? Because that's going to play into it. Hardy has not. He's been a core special teams player and been a real good special teams player. So do you want to take the chance of having him get claimed because you need a roster spot? I just think you're going to look somewhere else. To tell you the name that could go, because he's been a healthy scratch since week one, is Velus Jones.
Oh, Velus Jones, another guy. Yep. Velus Jones, Dominique Robinson. Nate Davis is the interesting one, though. If he's going to be a healthy scratch and you don't even have him as your top backup, because I thought Bill Murray played awesome. If Bill Murray,
in all honesty, I would have started Murray over Tevin last week.
I said that myself because I wanted Tev to get healthy, but then I thought Tev went out and had his best game of the season.
You know what? Did you see what I tweeted about that? I said, little competition does something, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, it might have been. Someone else in my comments said that too, because I showed off a play on the All-22 last week of Bill Murray pancaking like three guys
on a pass protection play.
Mm-hmm. And then there was a play this week where Tev pancaked two guys, and it was the one he pancake, or he clears Braxton guys out, knocks him like 7 yards back. And then Caleb, as he scrambles out the pocket, there's another interior lineman trying to chase him, and Tev just stonewalls him. It was one of the cleanest, biggest hits I seen all year. I was like, oh my God, knocked his soul out of him. I was like, Tev. But
Well,
someone in
that's
the
what I said.
comments was
Like,
saying,
the pressure got put on him. The other guy played real good. Now, I think he kind of willed himself to be back.
mm-hmm.
Because if this guy does this again next week, I may never see the field again.
That's a good point. Yeah, Tev's a guy who he wants a contract extension. He wants to stick around.
I
In my
still
opinion,
don't think he's going to get it. That's just my way of thinking. And it's like 2 weeks in a row he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, he hasn't missed time, but he's missed in total probably a full game, a half one game, a half another game.
Yep.
So he hasn't played a full schedule since he's been in the league. I just can't see Ryan doing that. Obviously, he could. If you're going to get a team-friendly deal and you're going to get him at a good price, yeah, go ahead and do it. But if he thinks he's going to go out and get like the $18 million, like some of these guys have been getting before, they're not going to do that.
I just can't see it happening. That's where it's free agency hurts us, because there's always a chance, and it usually happens, that if he does go into free agency, one team out there is going to overpay. That's what happened. That's why the Dolphins lost Robert Hunt to the Panthers. They gave him $100 million to a guard. So we saw that happen just this last offseason.
That really reset the guard market. And now there's been several that have gotten big money. There's been like 5.
And that's where before, guard has always been one of those positions that you find values at guard. You don't pay $80 million on a guard. And that's hurting us right now, that the position is being kind of overvalued, or it's gaining value in a way to speak. And right when Tev is hitting free agency, due to the simple fact that Tev just hasn't proven he can stay healthy yet. So it's like, we can't give him a $80-90 million deal. I think the best thing for both sides right now, if Tev really does want to be a Bear, maybe they can agree to some kind of short-term deal, a 1 or 2 year deal. Give him 15 to even up to 30 million. Give him 15 million for 2 years, because that's not going to kill you. It's 2 years, but keep
15
him around.
For 2 is like 7.5. You might have to go, to be fair, say the type of deal they gave Nate Davis.
Yeah, 10 million a year, even a little bit more. Yeah,
but will his people take that?
And that's the problem.
We're
not going to offer him as much as he can get on free agency.
When I saw the guard market get real crazy, then I just thought right away, they're either going to draft his replacement or they're going to find one. And finding one fell right in their pocket with Murray. Because the dude could, and you watch him in preseason, the dude could play in preseason. But
Pryor too, both of them. Pryor and Murray have both played well, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's.
And I still think they're going to draft a couple offensive linemen, and you need to cap wise. I've said this. When you get into free agency, corners, offensive and defensive linemen get paid a lot of money, so you got to keep drafting those guys.
100%. And I think next year it's looking really good for the trenches. It's already a stacked defensive end class. It's not really one of the best tackle classes from what I've observed so far, but the guards, there's a lot of interior offensive linemen. The centers might not have a top guy, but there's 3 or 4 centers that I really like, and there's a ton of guards. And then defensive line stacked.
I wrote an article the other day for Windy City about the edge class. And I said, you go into the season and you had these names. You had the kid from Tennessee, the 2 Ohio State guys, the Penn State kid. And, all these guys have, been roughly, they got very average production to date this year. Now, obviously teams are scheming for them a little bit, but nobody's really jumped out. But now you got like 3 or 4 other guys that are really jumping up. There's a kid at San Diego State, a true junior, and he's got 2 more years because he redshirted as a freshman. He's got 12 sacks already, or 11 sacks already in 6 games. He's like a 248-pound guy. There's a kid at Boston College
I
who's
can't say his
got
name.
9 sacks. Have you seen him?
Yeah, I can't say his name though. It's one
I can't
haven't
say his
learned
name
yet.
either. So, if you can do it, I'll give you $1. It's he's really good. Both those guys are about the same size, but they're Ngakwe type size. And then there's a kid, the best one I've seen. He might be the best in this class. Is this kid at LSU, and it's his first year.
Oh,
Really,
Savion Jones.
no,
Oh,
Swinson, I
not
think his name.
Savion Jones. Oh, the
Yeah,
other guy. Okay.
yeah. I mean, he's got 7 sacks, but his overall game is good. The kid at there's another kid at South Carolina. He had 2 sacks last week against Alabama, and he comes off the edge as good as anybody, but he literally cannot play the run. I've done every game. If he's made 2 tackles in the run game all year, that's a lot. It's like, but he can rush the passer like a motherfucker now. He comes off the edge like he's been shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, and that's the guy I thought was the best fit for the Bears is that Nick Scourton. He's the guy who he can play the run well. Got a little bit.
Oh,
of
you're talking about the A&M guy?
Yeah. Well,
see,
yeah,
I think he's a 3 technique.
Missouri
Dude's
now.
like 280 pounds.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, he's big enough, but that's big enough to play the edge. That's big enough to play edge. Biggie plank.
If you look at what Flus has had, except for Walker, and Walker's only 270.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to what he had in Indy, and even before that at Dallas when he was a coordinator, he has long, lean guys, not, where Scorton is a big guy. He's athletic for as big as he is, and he's good. The first time I did him, I said, I know if I'm taking him for this defense, I'm putting him as a 3. Get him up to 290 and be a 3 because he could be a bitch.
Someone said Greg does not like big edges.
No, well, no, I know the defense. It's not that I don't like big edges. I know, I worked in this scheme for, a long time here with Lovey, so I know what the profile is. I know what they look for.
Well, I do like what Dennis said here. Kind of a guy like DeMarcus Walker, a guy who can hold up the point of attack at defensive end, and then on third down passing situations, you can move him inside to 3 tech. That's kind of maybe what I would view Scourton as.
Yeah. Okay. So you could take that guy in the first round?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. Well,
I would.
Personally, I wouldn't, but
okay.
I hear what you're saying.
I mean, if there was a tackle there, I think first round next year is going to be tough for the Bears. I have 3 positions that I really look for, and they're all in the
I think it's going to be offensive lineman myself,
But are you going to take a guard? Or are you going to take a tackle that can maybe play guard?
You can take a tackle and move him inside.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you a great example because it depends what he measures. The kid at Texas, what's his name? Little
Kelvin Banks Jr.
Tackle.
Yeah, Kelvin Banks Jr.
Yeah. He's listed. Nobody's got a verified height on him because he's a 3rd-year guy. We got verified heights on the seniors, on most seniors, but he's listed at 6'4". So he comes out and he goes to the combine and he's 6'4" and 1/8. He's a tackle. If he's 6'3 3/4, he's a guard.
Yeah. I mean, and I'd still, but would that drop? That would just make the guard class even stronger. Maybe I even hope for something like that because I don't know. I'm torn on the left tackle situation. I want to watch Braxton Jones and give him more time to develop. I've seen him play a lot better the last few weeks. Everyone keeps saying he's getting killed by the bull rushers. A lot of people. One of the things that people don't understand, and I'll just rant about it for just a second, is when he uses his technique to drive guys past the pocket. That is, he's doing that. That's part of his technique. Right. Part of the problem is
for the quarterback to step up.
Yep, and part of the problem is our interior earlier in the season was getting pushed back, so there was no room for Caleb Williams now that our interior is playing a little bit better. Braxton can do that all day long, and that's what he's supposed to do. That's something a lot of tackles do in the NFL. You see it every week.
Early in the year, Swifty, they were rushing 5 and 6 a lot. So he had some overload rushes.
and stunting
And
like crazy.
right. And so, but that is because you were playing with a rookie quarterback who was unsure of himself. And now that he's grown a lot just in a short period of time, defenses can't do that because he'll kill them.
Yeah. And I am really high. Blue mentioned Karan Amagaji. I'm really high on that guy too. I think in the offseason at some point I compared Braxton Jones to Amagaji, and I think they really I actually have it right here. So this is actually have it still up here. So let me look at it. They're both 6'5". Karan's got 13 pounds on him. They both have over 35 inch arms, but Karan's are 36 and 3/4. Crazy arm length, because we already knew the Braxton has crazy arm length, but Karan didn't allow a sack in his last 900 snaps. He did go to a small school. He went to Yale, kind of like Braxton in a lot of ways. And I thought if he would have tested athletically, I thought he probably would have scored very high, similar to
Oh,
Braxton,
he's a pretty
even
good
higher.
athlete. There's no
Yeah.
question. I personally, you want to keep the best five.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, and I agree, Braxton, I'm a guy who's always been in his corner since he's been here. And I thought the first few games he did not play up to the level of his ability. But part of that was just all the craziness going on with the offensive line. They can't just put it on him because the offensive line as a whole wasn't playing good. And part of it was what the defenses were doing.
Yep.
But he has played better. Guy's played a lot of football since he's been here already. Is he ever going to be the best guy? Is he ever going to go to the Pro Bowl? No. But he's going to be what we call a rank and file tackle in the league. See, I think when you look at his body, he's a little narrower from the waist down than Amagaji. Amagaji's got a bigger bucket. He's got some seat smasher to him where Braxton doesn't. I can see Amagaji moving inside to a guard spot if you're keeping Braxton Jones.
Yeah. But if we're not, then I think he is the guy who's going to compete at left tackle. I think we could potentially already have that guy on the roster. I know a lot of people are looking for a left tackle upgrade. I don't think free agency is where you go to find a left tackle.
No, you got to pay too much damn money.
And looking at next year's tackle class, I might, unless there's Kelvin Banks, Will Compton is the one guy, the guy for LSU. There's one guy, he's going top 5 probably.
Oh, he's a good player.
He's next year's Joe Alt. Like, he's going to go top 10. Unless we lose every game the rest of the year, we're not getting him. So it's going to be hard to get a left tackle in the draft.
That's why I think you can get a guard.
Project. Yeah. That's why I'd go heavy in the trenches. I'd draft a guard, draft a center, and then also add to this D line. We have a lot of picks next year. So
yep. And depending on what happens with Ian, you might have another third. You don't see both thirds in the same year. You get
back-to-back years. Yep.
So, but you'd get an extra third. I got my sleeper guard, and I wrote him up for some agents that I do work with as maybe a center too. His name's Luke Newman at Michigan State. Now they're on
Newman.
Okay, he plays left guard. He went to Holy Cross for 4 years.
Ooh, so 5th-year guy.
Yeah, he's 5th-year guy. Played full 4 years at Holy Cross, was a captain. Now he's at Michigan State. I think he's a captain his first year there too. He makes the line calls. You see it on tape. He makes the line calls as a guard. And my worry I had when I first did him was in the spring he weighed 301. He was like 6'3.5", 301. And so I thought, well, he might be just a little too light in the ass, even though you never see him get knocked back. I mean, he probably wins 95% of his blocks. I mean, the guy's really good. It's like the best guy you've never heard of. Okay, and it's probably because he played at Holy Cross. The agent community knows they're all over him. He's got agents crawling up his ass every day. But now that he's bigger, a scout went in there got a recent weight. He's 315. So, and when you watch him play it, you don't necessarily see 315 because he's lean, but he's stout. He's really strong. But I thought when I first watched him, I said, know what I'm going to do? If this guy's only 300, 305 pounds, and the way he moves and as tough as he is, I'm moving his ass into center because you can see him make the line calls. And you say, you want a real smart guy like that. And if you went to Holy Cross, he's smart, good Jesuit school. You got to have real high SAT scores to get into that place. So, he's not a dummy. And his tape is just, if you get to watch Michigan State, watch the left guard. Freaking guy is really good. Now, he's not a guy who's going to go in the first round, probably going to go in the third round because of the background of stuff. But, you also could go to like the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Game and just, and then test real well. And then all of a sudden he's going to shoot up.
Oh, there's so many guards in next year's draft. Shoot, we could probably draft a guard in the third round that's going to come in and start. I love next year's guard class. Someone asked about the Oregon left tackle. I think his name's Josh Cornerly or Connerly.
They got 2 tackles.
The left tackle is the one who's probably trying to get a first round grade, but just like LSU, I talked about it last week. Oregon had their 2 big time tackles last week going against Ohio State's 2 big time edge rushers, Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau.
I think they're the 2 most overrated.
That's what I was going to say. I thought Connerly from Oregon, I thought he held up well against both of them. And Ohio State has some young pass rushers as well. I thought the Oregon guy could potentially have moved into first round conversation. I thought
he's a good player. He is, if I'm not mistaken, and I got to go back and look at his
also listed at 6'4".
Yes, he's the other guy. It was him and the kid from Texas are 2 guys I said they may end up being guards.
And that's the crazy part. I think one of the Georgia guards or tackles is also 6'4". So that really that next year's guard class is already incredible.
Now, okay, speaking of Georgia, they did a guy this week. So their best guy, Ratledge, he's got hurt in the 3rd game. And then he had that tightrope surgery. And he was a legitimate first round guard.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Really good player. So now they get this other guy. He comes in, number 56. Can't remember his name, but I did him just the other day. And he's a fucking stud. He can't move like Ratledge. You might not be able to play him in the Bears scheme as far as being an outside scheme, because I don't know. He doesn't look like he runs that well to doing that. But damn, you don't move this guy. He's like 325 and 6'5", and just real big and strong and tough. Another guy, he just wins every play. And he started like 1 game. He's a 3rd-year guy. He's a 4th-year guy, redshirted 1 year, I think. But now he's getting his chance to play because of Ratledge, and he's playing really, really well. And the agent community knows about it because they're having me write him up.
That's the crazy part. Yeah, that's the other thing there is they already had 2 guards that were top 2. They were supposed to go in the top 2 rounds next year.
Fairchild's the other guy. I don't think Fairchild is I think
then you're the guy who came in for Ratledge, you're saying also could be drafted next year. Okay. I mean, I saw him playing. I didn't know if he was draft eligible or not next year, but I did see him dominate. Next year's guard class is insane.
I picked up 400 guys, Swifty. I got,
400 of them. There's next year's guard class is just, especially if a couple of these tackles get moved over to guard. Someone asked about Nate Davis, though, while we're on the topic of guard. Is Nate Davis really a cut candidate? Look, I talked about it in the offseason, and I said no this offseason because we had to pay Nate this year no matter what. No matter what, Nate's contract for 2024 is guaranteed. But next year, 2025,
there's no guarantee.
Yeah, we'll save $10 million by cutting Nate. So there was no point in cutting him this offseason. We had to try to get whatever we could out of him this year. But now that he's been benched, that Matt Pryor's took his job, and then Bill Murray has took the job of the most dependable backup guard right now. And he's
played both sides.
And then you got Doug Kramer, and then Ryan Bates coming back. So right now, Nate Davis is a healthy scratch. You're already paying him. You're already deciding he's probably gone next year. So if you need that roster spot, yes, I think Nate Davis
Yeah,
is a cut candidate.
we talked about that earlier. I mean, obviously, it's a front office decision.
Mm-hmm.
Poles has final say on the 53.
He's not going on practice
but
squad.
the Simo, the line coach, is going to have a lot to say about that too. But if they've lost confidence in him, now if you notice, Flus never says anything negative about him really. When they, at least recently, he kind of did during the preseason, more like a kick in your ass type, vocalism or whatever. But he's, now he says, oh, he's doing everything he can do and all this other stuff. But I think it part of it. I don't think you can trade him, because who's going to trade him? You got to pay him for the remaining games, probably $6 million. So who's going to take that contract?
Yep, 100%. And someone else mentioned Karan Amagaji, another guy who could be ahead of Nate Davis when it comes to playing at guard if we needed to.
Right.
Because at this point, I think he's out of favor with the coaches. I rooted for Nate. I stuck up for him the last 2 years.
You and me both.
I think at this point, his time as a Bear is pretty much up. Knock on wood. As long as our interior stays relatively healthy, I don't see Nate being active again this year. Someone else mentioned with Ryan Bates coming back, does that mean Kramer could be inactive? And that's what we're talking about here. We already have Kramer is active and Nate Davis is below him. So if Ryan Bates comes back, he's probably above Kramer, who's also above Nate Davis right now. So Nate's numbered days on the roster just seem numbered to me.
No, I agree. And I think it gets down to how exactly, what kind of hit are you going to get? Is that hit because you got to pay him anyway for this year? Is there, I ought to go in right now and look at it.
I think I have it up. Where is it?
You got over the cap?
I've looked at it. I looked at it in the off season as well, but yeah.
Well, I know, but that doesn't matter now. So now you're in and there's no guarantee left. So there might be
post June 1st. We would be, we're on the hook for 10.75 million. We actually would still,
that's his guarantee for this year.
Yeah, but his cap number is 11.3. So we actually saved $600K, which earlier in the offseason, there was no point in doing it. You're paying him almost 11 million, but at this point,
you're taking a big hit to cut him. But now he's on the roster, he's getting paid. He's getting paid for the rest of the season regardless, because he was on the roster for the first game. And so, it's not really going to have any negative effect on your cap for this year if you get rid of him. Could they do it? Will they do it? I think it depends.
It comes down
who gets healthy and how everybody else is doing.
Yeah, 100% comes down to the roster spot. Someone else asked, what position would you pick first in next year's draft if you were the GM?
Well, number one, you don't think that way. You got to think, okay, where am I picking and who's going to be available? So, and then, because you're going to have a couple of different needs, and some of that could change in free agency. Some of it could change by who you extend or trades or everything and like that. But it's way too early to say. I'm just saying that it's probably 2 of the first 3 picks are offense and defensive line.
I'd like to see
maybe 3 of the first 3
offensive
picks.
Line. Yeah.
our offensive and defensive line. So what happened like this year is Murray's 27, but still Murray coming off the bench and playing like he did. That's like, wait a minute, we got a bonus here. We got a bonus that we didn't know we had. Or put it this way, we didn't know. They might have known. We didn't know. So that changes. I still think they need probably more guard than interior or than tackle. But unless you move Amagaji inside, then you need a tackle. You need a tackle anyway, just for a swing guy.
Yep. 100%. Competition is always best. And then I'll segue here. Everyone's been asking about it the whole show. We'll talk about the trade deadline. It is coming up in a couple weeks. But the names people are mentioning, I've seen
Max
these.
Crosby is not available.
That's I was gonna say that's one of the names. The other two names they're talking about are
Miles
Myles Garrett
not
and
available.
Micah Parsons. I don't think any of those three are available.
I mean, those are Twitter rumors.
Mm-hmm.
And Lester Wilfong, who runs Windy City Gridiron, he had a great tweet yesterday, and I retweeted it. Let me see if I can find it here.
I think I've responded to someone in the comments yesterday about it because I'm consistently asked about those guys, and I told them, look, if somehow those guys became available, yes, Ryan Poles would probably be interested, but I am highly doubting that any of those three guys are going to become available.
First of all, let's go to Myles Garrett. They just got rid of Amari Cooper and take a cap hit for this year and next year because of the guarantees and the signing bonus that he had. And the next year hit is pretty good. With Myles Garrett, he's got 3 years left on his contract, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You can't afford to get rid of him.
Yeah.
It just costs you too much money. And why would they? He's their best defensive player. But here's what Lester wrote yesterday. A trade rumor is when an insider shares information they've received from one side or the other about an interest, and even those often just posturing with no basis in fact. A trade rumor is not a writer, host speculating on trades that make sense. That's engagement. And that's what most of this shit is. It's engagement. It's throwing out names. Why would Crosby be available? Because you like him? Yeah. I mean, yeah, so what?
So do the Raiders. So do the Raiders. And people kind of treat it like baseball. They're like, this team just traded away Devontae Adams, so they're going to give away all their players now. That's not how it works. This isn't. No. Yeah.
And the same thing, Parsons, you've been seeing that name. I think that's Twitter rumor, not reality rumor. Because he's their best defensive player.
Yeah. Someone's asking about Trayvon Walker from the Jags. Now, he was the number 1 overall pick just 3 years ago. And what does he have on his career? He had 10 sacks last year. So I will say he had 10 sacks.
He hasn't done anything.
3.5 this year. But, he's got 3.5. According to that, I haven't watched him really. He's got 3.5 sacks and an interception. Someone's asking about Trayvon, but my biggest point would be, why would they trade a guy they took number 1 overall in his 3rd season when he's still under a rookie contract? No, I don't see that one as an option. Even though the Jags are kind of in no man's land. Maybe if we offered him a 1st-round pick, but
I wouldn't give up a 1st round for him.
Exactly, I wouldn't either. That's what I'm saying. But I don't see the Jags trading him for less than that.
And see, the one point that hasn't been brought up yet in this conversation is the money. So if you bring in, they're already giving Sweat, what's the average, 25 million or something. Mm-hmm. Okay. Poles, first of all, for this year, they got $7.5 million. Rest of the season. Is he going to go out and spend another 25 for another edge when he's got Taylor, who is costing $3 million? Mm-hmm. He's got Booker, who's costing like $800,000. He's got Martin, who's costing $1.2 million. I mean, he's got players, and they're getting production. They're averaging 4 sacks a game. You get 4 sacks a game over the course of the year, you got 50-something sacks.
My point about it is, we know he was interested in Matthew Judon, who was making $15 million a year. So to me, that tells me they're not quite happy with the defensive line.
Yeah, but then he went out and got the other guy, and it only cost him a 6th-round pick.
That was after, wasn't it? I was for some reason.
That was like a few days later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they struck out on Matthew Judon, and actually Taylor ends up being the better player right now.
He's played really well so far.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
he's third on
so
our team in pressures.
right. So, and he's coming out of contract, but he's costing $3 million this year.
But someone just asked, what do you think we'd have to pay him next year? That one's tough. You never know on the market. If he hits if you agree to something before the season ends, probably get him cheaper than if we wait till he's a free agent next year.
Right, right. And he could be a guy they go to between now and the end of the season because they're happy with the way he plays and lock him up. And then you still got Jacob Martin, who's on the cheap, and you got Booker, who's going to be. I like the way Booker's played, and he's on a rookie contract. I mean, he's got to get stronger and add a little bulk, but his hustle plays are just outstanding.
Okay, he followed it up with 8 figures. I don't know if 10 million. I don't know if Taylor's going to get 10 million. He'd have to be more productive the rest
He'd have
of the
to
season.
get
8 sacks, maybe 10.
Yeah, 8 to 10 sacks on the year. He's got 2 and some or 2.5, and he's got a bunch of pressures and hits. He's got some near misses that he just hasn't been able to finish.
He's been there.
He's been a productive addition to the defensive line, and you got to figure that stuff in. And on top of it, he's like 26 years old. He's still a baby.
Still got time. Still got time to get better. Yep.
Yeah, and he's playing in a scheme that fits his skill set versus what he was being asked to do in Seattle. There's a bunch of people from Seattle that were trying to rattle me on X, saying he can't play the run. You guys got robbed, but that's
Seahawks fans.
He can't play it. Yeah.
Those are the same guys that told us Waldron sucks too. What's up, Seahawks fans?
How about Waldron? Here's what my take. Who knows if I'm wrong? I think that he was being too conservative because he had a rookie quarterback, and the players just say, "No, man, we're ready to go with this thing. Do it." And because they've done more in the last 3 weeks, a lot more in the last 3 weeks, and I just think and his play calling has really been good when you watch it now. I think he was reeling things back and holding things back because he just wasn't sure that Caleb could do it.
Yeah. Great question by Q here. He asked, would it even interest Taylor to leave? He's getting play time and actually doing well. Why leave this scheme? Money talks, man. I mean, whoever gives him the most money.
These guys are in it. They're in it for the money, man.
Yeah.
And so
there's other things, but if a team is offering him a lot more money, I've been watching the NFL a long time, and as much as I've always thought that way, it's very rare to see guys take major discounts to stay somewhere just because they like a scheme. They might take a little bit of a discount or structure it differently, or to let it go. If 2 teams offer the same price, yeah, they'll go with the one they like better, that has the coaches or the players there. But it's all about money a lot of times. Not always, but it's a big factor.
Perfect example is Darnell Mooney.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last year polls went to him. I think the figure was around 12. Like last November, hit him with an extension for a 12 million average, and he turned it down. He bet on himself, and he was having a shitty season. So, but he said no, and he got 18 million.
And he's playing pretty well in Atlanta too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and now could part of it, we all know there's tampering going on. Because his agent, could Atlanta already been talking to his agent because, Ryan Pace is down there and knew he was going to be a free agent. He's the guy that drafted him. Knew that they were going to be in the market for a wide receiver. Could he have been involved in that a little bit under the table? Of course.
He's got Mooney's number.
Yeah. So, some of that – Mooney's guy could have told Pace and Fontenot that they could say, no, we can get 12 in Chicago to stay, and they could have told him back then, nah, we can get you more, because it didn't take him long to get a contract now.
100%. Yeah, he got it quick. He got it quick in Atlanta. So, and he's played
Yep.
well. I think he's played really well. He looks good in as the Falcon, but it's not. A lot of people blame Poles every time. Every time a Bears player does something, especially in a prime time game like a Thursday night game, every Bears fan, I can't believe Ryan Poles didn't. He just let this guy go. And you said it. Poles offered him a contract. Mooney wanted more, and he went out to free agency. And I probably wouldn't have paid him what the Falcons paid him, but they could afford it, and they wanted to go all in because they have a quarterback who's doesn't have that long in the NFL left, probably, and they just paid big money on him, so they're trying to take a shot with Kirk Cousins right now. So
no, they had a reason to their craziness, So and they went with it, and that's fine. So now there is, if you look at what Chicago signed in free agency. And then you have like part of the formula for free agency is playtime, honors. It's not just the contract, as far as the compensatory picks. So, just the fact that Mooney got $18 million doesn't mean that Chicago's going to get a comp pick back. He's got to be playing every game and have a productive season. If he has 20 catches, that $18 million doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
So, but he's playing good. And I think when you do all the things, because it's net gain versus net losses, they're going to end up probably getting a 7th. Nothing better than that. But I'm going to think probably a 7th in the, which will be the first time in a few years they're getting anything, because they didn't go out and really get the big contract this year.
Yeah, nothing big. DeAndre Swift, Kevin Byard, and Byard didn't count because he was released.
He was a street guy. He doesn't count.
Yep.
Swift counts, but Swift didn't get as much money as Mooney.
Yeah, he didn't get that much. Someone also asked about a Keenan Allen extension. I think Keenan most likely will want to stay here. I think the team is definitely going to want to watch what he does the entire season before committing money to a guy at his age.
I agree.
And then talk about it in the offseason, probably.
I agree with that. And then I'm going to throw a name at you. And I'll throw a name at you for the possible next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Mike Williams.
Mike Williams. I like Mike Williams. I do like Mike.
And the reason being is they tried to get they looked into getting Mike Williams before they made the Keenan Allen trade, and they weren't sold that he was going to be ready.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, Mike's a guy who had a lot of talent. He's been injured a lot, and then he recently just got called out by Aaron Rodgers in the media. I guess.
Yeah, and he's not. He's lost his. I mean, he hasn't practiced all week. He's in pout mode like Devontae Adams was in Oakland, or Las Vegas rather, and so it's. He's probably on the. They're not going to flat out cut him because he's got a guaranteed contract for $10 million a year. You could probably make a deal with the Jets and have them pick up part of that money. It's only a 1-year contract, so he's a free agent at the end of the year. But right now, if you look at the Bears receiving core, after the top 3, it's a big question mark.
Yeah, I can't. I'm honestly disappointed. Everyone in chat is hating Mike Williams. Guys, Mike Williams, a guy, he was a first-round pick. He was awesome at Clemson. He's a guy who he's incredible athletically, and he brings a different skill set than our receivers have.
I'm going to give you his production.
Gotcha. And he also he's not going to be a number 1 guy. That's the thing. If we brought him here, he'd be behind DJ Moore, Romo Dunze.
He'd be number 4. But
and probably the 5th.
The thing is he's younger and faster than Keenan. And so what do you do next year? Let's say you get him. And trust me, he was the guy they originally were going after, not Keenan.
Hmm.
So let me just get here. Now, he hasn't done anything for the Jets, but don't forget, he missed most of camp.
Yep.
So he's
Well,
only
he's
got
coming
6.
back from an injury. So, I mean,
Right.
yeah.
He's coming off an ACL. He's only got 6 catches, but for his career.
But if you can get him for like a
he's had.
6-round pick.
Now, last year he was hurt. He only played in 3 games. He tore his ACL. So he had 19 catches. And this year he's got 10 catches this year so far. Played in 6 games. 22, he had 66 catches. 21, 76. 20, 48 in 15 games. 19, 49 in 15 games. Averaged 20 yards a catch. 15.8 yards a catch. 15.1 yards a catch. 10 TDs one year. 9 TDs another year. He's got 31 TDs total. The guy's a player.
And he's a playmaker in the. That's what I said. He's a guy in the red zone, is a jump ball threat, which Rome Odunze can be a jump ball threat. And DJ is, despite his size, he's still really good at contested catches. But neither of those guys. I mean, Mike Williams is a straight jump ball guy. I mean, I love him for that. So I think
I'm just throwing the name out. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying that it's a rumor. I'm just saying I know that they were interested in him to the point where, when they made the Keenan Allen deal, they were looking into signing him first.
I could see adding another weapon on this offense, especially if someone gets hurt, the depth on our wide receiver room is limited.
Yeah, I don't think they trust Tyler, because he's not playing. They play the little guy.
I probably agree with OKC Bears fan here. He says, I see him getting traded, but probably not here. But I'm just, for the record, I would not be against that. Like you said, 9 touchdown season, 10 touchdown season. He's a guy who's a red zone threat. And hey, if something happens to Keenan, God forbid someone else on one of our other receivers, having a guy like Mike Williams would be huge. I like Tyler Scott, but Mike Williams is a completely different animal than Tyler Scott. Tyler Scott's more of a, I like to call him a Darnell Mooney. I compare him a lot to Darnell Mooney in similar ways. He runs routes like Mooney. It's very similar size to Mooney. So I a little bit of Darnell Mooney in him.
Yep. All I'm saying, again, I'll repeat it. I know there was interest back in March. Yep. And then they turned around and made the Keenan Allen deal. So if he comes back, if he's all of a sudden available and the Jets pick up some of the salary, wouldn't take me long to say yes.
Yeah, and then we addressed it a bit, but I've got another question here. He said Max Crosby said he wants to play to win right now. He may be wanting out of Vegas. Me and Greg both agreed we don't see that happening.
Yeah, Vegas.
Or Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons. But if it did, I do think Ryan Poles would be in on it. It's not something.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I just don't think he's available. I think it's a pipe dream. And now you got Tom Brady there, officially part of the organization, and is going to be, even though he owns like 5% or 10% or 8% or something like that, it still costs him hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And I've already read that he's going to have a lot of say of what goes on.
Yep.
And so he's not stupid enough to say, I'm getting rid of my best defensive player.
Yeah. And if they did get rid of him, they'd probably want like something crazy, like 2 first-round picks. It's not going to be
the
Devontae Adams trade.
No, Devontae Adams is 32 years old. Mm-hmm. So, but this guy's a lot younger.
And they had no leverage.
Right.
Yep. 100%. Final thing, I'll answer Mikey's question. We talked about that too. We think Khalil Herbert probably going to stay, just due to the fact that if we're one injury away from really needing that guy on our team, and we need him more, so that is more valuable right now to us than a 6th-round pick. It'd be different if a team was offering a 3rd or 4th-round pick, but if teams are just going with a 6th,
he's coming out of contract, so you're going to get a 6th or a 7th.
And next year's running back class is so stacked, no one's going to give us a pick where we can get a starting running back to replace Herbert in round 3 or 4
for shit, you can get starting running
rental.
back. The way running backs go now, you can get one in the 5th round.
Yep, 100%. Well, Greg, it's been awesome having you guys. We do this every other week, but we will be back next week. We're going to do back-to-back weeks. Next week, we'll preview the Commanders and Bears game a little bit more. We know it's going to be hyped up. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. I wish it wasn't so long. I wish it was Sunday. But, Greg, did you have any other final thoughts or anything for the people?
No, this is fun. And it was a fun conversation. So
it is.
Hopefully it'll be the same. It's real bright in here, and I'm looking at the screen, and it looks like my face is blurry because it's bright from the sun coming through the window.
You got the light shining down on you.
Yeah, all right.
Bear down to the chat, guys. We'll be back next week.